Good morning, everybody. Betting for breakfast, powered by the Sharp app. I'm Mark Drumheller. I'm here with Dave Gleckner. NFL Championship weekend, the conference championships. So excited. 4 teams left after an incredibly exciting divisional round. Every game went down to the wire. Bettors were sweating it out the entire time. It was just a ton of fun. Dave, we're snowed in here outside of Philadelphia. Plenty of snow on the ground. We got nothing to do but sit around, handicap these games, and get ready for some bets on Sunday.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this nor'easter came in. We started with you could get nothing, you could get 2 feet, and I think we're right in the middle there. But, yeah, I ain't going anywhere, man. I'm going to chop in some college hoops. Can't wait to watch. This is what golf loved, and I'll just have a segue. They plan to finish their tournament today, so they didn't have to mess with the NFL. So we got some good Farmers Insurance Open today, and when it snowed in, it's a dream for them. I had a lot of good sports on, but you're right. Dig into the 2 big games tomorrow. I got some picks, but I will tell you, I think both are very tough games, and you can convince me either way. But I did settle in and can't wait to talk about it.
Yeah. I mean, 2 very, very competitive games. Let's talk a little bit about last weekend first. Couple games did not go my way. Didn't listen. I got San Francisco right. Very excited about that. But, when you look at those games and how they turned out, definitely not how I seen them. The Buffalo KC game, a coin flip, I felt like. It's coin flip. It bounced the wrong way. We should have had that one with the Bills Mafia. It didn't turn out. But what would you say, from a betting perspective, was the biggest surprise out of last weekend?
I guess for me, the biggest surprise was Green Bay, only from the standpoint of you get up 7-0, you get the ball at midfield, and the Niners are completely listless. And let's be honest, the Niners only scored on a block punt, right? I was very surprised at how powerful that Green Bay offense. I talked about last week. I think they averaged 32 a game in the last 6 or 7. They were looking unstoppable. So from a betting perspective, if I would have seen San Fran winning that game, I would have seen it more in the 20s, near 30. And I thought San Fran would have had to win with Jimmy G. For them to win the game holding Green Bay to 10, I was stunned. I'll be honest, stunned. Yeah. I could see San Fran winning, but not holding Green Bay to 10.
Yeah, it's one of them, back to the future moments where you could go back in time and start, booking bets. Listen, I'm going to give you, San Fran's not even going to score a touchdown, and I'm going to give you and they're going to end up winning the game. They're not going to score an offensive touchdown, and they're going to end up beating the Green Bay Packers in Lambeau Field in that game. It was just the way it turned out was just incredible. But I do think it speaks volumes about this San Francisco defense. This is a defense that, again, was very strong down the stretch in the second half of the season. Held Dallas. Dallas, we can say what we want about McCarthy. We can say what we want about the Cowboys. We're from Philadelphia. We obviously don't love the Cowboys, right? But very high-powered offense, right? And it was a high-powered offense that was held in check, kept held the 17 points. And then they followed up with that performance in Green Bay, in the cold, in Lambeau Field, really shutting the Packers offense out outside of a few big plays and holding them to 10 points on the biggest stages. So, it was that I thought very, very surprising as well. One of my biggest surprises is, I'm going to take it to the Cincinnati-Tennessee game, Dave. And, this is a game that we disagreed on. We both thought it was close, hard game to call. You were on the right side with the Bengals. I was on the wrong side with the Titans. And really, I was just shocked, the sacks that the Tennessee defense generated. That was part of my handicap. I thought that their defense was a lot better than they were getting credit for. But to see Tannehill come up so small in such a big game was just heartbreaking to me. And I'm not a huge Ryan Tannehill fan, but, I like this story. He kind of resurrected his career. He gets all his weapons back in this game. I expected so much more to Tannehill, and the 3 interceptions were just absolutely backbreaking for that team. They moved the ball pretty well on offense, 6.7 yards per play, but man, those turnovers were killers.
It's funny that you picked that and I picked mine. That was unscripted. I picked the game that you beat me, and you picked the game that I beat you, because it burns a little when you feel like you see it the one way and you get that kind of alternate play. Yeah, it's just funny. I agree with you. Like Tannehill, man, he might be. Oh, he better watch his house.
Yeah, that's the thing is, and that leads to the question is like, is he the guy for them really moving forward? Like, if they're going to take the next step, because they went out in the offseason and they got a ton of weapons. They got him Julio Jones, who wasn't there all season or whatever, but that offense should have been able to put up a lot more points against the Cincinnati defense that we're going to talk about a little bit, coming up and taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. But that was just.
I know you got Tannehill, right? Mm-hmm. I thought Vrabel was worse. I mean, his panic to go for 2 when it's 6-6 early, I think threw off the whole rhythm of the game. Imagine if they're up 1 point at the end of the game, and Tannehill doesn't really have to press that throw into double coverage. I thought Vrabel made a lot of really odd calls, almost feeling like he was hitting the panic button. And I was surprised from a guy that, obviously is a Coach of the Year candidate.
Yeah. I mean, listen, you're not winning games. Like, I get it. Like, Vrabel probably could have had some things back, had some things back. And, I expected more out of the team in general. A lot of what we talked about was Vrabel off 8 days rest, 8-0 against the spread. All of these numbers were, and for them to come out flat the way they did.
That's it.
And of course, Tannehill interception on the first play. I like the idea of, let's get Tannehill cooking early. Let's get him some confidence. Now, you throw a pick on the first play, so it's kind of hard to do that, right? It ends up having the opposite impact. But it's just hard when your quarterback is playing that way and turning the ball over. It's just it's hard to overcome that. We know how critical turnovers are just in regular NFL games. In the playoffs, it's more amplified. Just seeing him throw all those picks, man, it's just kind of brutal. And it makes you wonder, like, is he the guy for the future? We're going to see a lot of quarterback movement in the offseason. There's a lot of teams that are going to be looking for quarterbacks. So it'll be interesting to see, how comfortable they are with Tannehill moving forward.
Yeah, good points.
But definitely, we talked about those 2 games. Obviously, the Rams with their win against Tampa. I thought there were some surprising elements in that game as well. Part of what I missed, in my handicap and taking Tampa was just the fact that, and this was kind of a theme with, a lot of the teams. And we talked about how the Titans gave it away. We talked about how the Packers kind of gave it away. And we all know the Bills gave it away, right? And I thought, in a sense, the Bucs gave that game away, from the jump. Like, they just seemed for a team that went to the Super Bowl last year, stupid penalties, very undisciplined, not being able to convert on third downs. Like, they came out and Fournette was running right through that defense. And then, I think they went 0 for 7 for their first 7 third downs. So it was just, offensively, I was surprised, not in the fact that they struggled a little bit because you knew with the injuries on the offensive line, it was going to have some impact. But the fact that they kept shooting themselves in the foot time and time again with dumb penalties and lack of execution, balls going through Gronk's hands, which typically he catches, that was like a big shocker to me. But gosh, the Rams are a roller coaster, aren't they?
Yeah, I'll be honest. We were completely on the wrong side. The Rams should have won that game by 30. Cam Akers fumbling 2 times. Like, they were just the better team. And we were very fortunate to even be in that game. Some of the things I'm stunned at the mistakes you talked about. I'm there. I think the injuries on the offensive line, and I think a bad game plan by Bowles ended up costing them. And Cooper Kupp is the one guy, and Arizona tried to do it the week before, take him out of the game, and they just did not. They let him run free, and in the end, it's kind of poetic justice when you let a guy run right down the middle of the field. He's getting 30-yard separation to win the game. Stafford just has to throw it out there. What about the touchdown for 70 yards to him on 3rd and 24? Like, it's just to me, that's a lot outrageous. Of it's outrageous is what it is. And I give the Rams a lot of credit. They're a complete roller coaster. Don't get me wrong. It's hard for me to trust them because I know the Rams are mistake prone. They are just not that mentally strong. But in the end, they were better that day. And I just missed that one, but I give the Rams a lot of credit to win down there because Tampa's good at home. They're very good, and they set the tone early.
Yeah, and it's hilarious in the fact that like I sat on this show and was like, listen, Tampa blitzes more than anyone. Stafford chews them up against the blitz. Todd Bowles isn't going to go in there and just blitz the hell out of them. And what do you know? On Sunday, Todd Bowles is like, I'm going to go in there and blitz the hell out of him, and he gets carved up. Like, I have no idea what he was thinking going into that game. Obviously, Todd Bowles, much more smarter, as far as the X's and O's in the game of football than I am. But I was just shocked that that was his game plan. And especially at the end with the game on the line, they allow, the Rams to pretty much win because they wanted to send the house at them.
Yeah. Yo, check out my man John Trey in the comments. He's going to the AFC Championship game.
Oh,
awesome,
nice.
John. And I'm Big Houday. Had them both weeks so far, so we'll see where we get when we get to the next point here. But man, I love it. I love it, and I love it. 49ers money line just seems like if you're going to bet the 49ers, and Drums kind of talked about it last week, they're either going to win the game or lose the spread. And I almost feel like money line, even the better play here. I agree.
Yeah, definitely. So let's get into the games, right? Yep, 100%. Let's get into the games. We're going to start with the first one. We're going to start with the Chiefs and the Cincinnati Bengals, right? This one opened at 7. We're seeing some 7.5s pop up, right? The total is kind of moving its way up as well, up to 54.5 after opening at 51. People expect a lot of points, right? Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, two of the best young quarterbacks in the game. Doesn't really get any better than this. And we have two defenses that have been a little bit leaky when they faced, great quarterbacks. We saw, I thought the Bengals defense did step up against the Titans, right? But much different animal now with Patrick Mahomes coming to town in this one. And, it's interesting to see when the number came out. I said, wow, that's kind of like a big number. But, I think after seeing what we saw on Sunday night with the Kansas City Chiefs, there's just this overall feeling that they're going to be able to do whatever they want if a defense can't pressure and attack them. And I think that's why you're seeing this total go up as well, Dave.
Yeah, I think I agree. I saw the total got pounded as soon as it came out, right? And I think a little bit of that is watching what they saw Sunday night, and I get it. But then you got to watch what the Bengals have done, right? 2 unders so far in the playoffs, and really have relied on the leg of Evan McPherson. Let's be honest. He's kind of their MVP. You can say everything you want about Joe. Smoking Joe's been great, but he's not getting the ball in the end zone. Didn't throw a touchdown pass last week. So it's been a lot more of Cincinnati playing a different style of game, even though they're still moving the ball, getting their yards. I think that over is a little – and it was 34-31 the first game. So maybe a lot of people were just jumping on that with the idea this has got to be a shootout. But there is some value to it, too, if you like the over. Looking at the Chiefs' defense, playing good teams, I don't think they've let up under 27 yet for some of the top teams. I know Lamar hung 32 on them, Joe obviously 34. So, yeah, I could see a slug-out game. But if you're going to play that Cincinnati game where they're getting sacked and pressured a lot and really just moving the chains and not converting the red zone field goals, you're not going to get the over. That's a tricky one.
Yeah, so this is the interesting part, right? And this is kind of like what I love about these games is kind of watching it play out. I think that we can both agree that Cincinnati's probably not going to win this game, right? Like, to me, it comes down to can they cover the spread? Can Joe Burrow keep this game close? And also, it comes down to the Chiefs are probably going to do their end of the heavy lifting on the total, right? And it's just going to come down to, is Cincinnati going to be able to stay and keep pace with the Kansas City offense in this game? Because I think when you look at the matchup, the Chiefs offense against the Cincinnati defense, the things that Cincinnati struggles with, covering the middle of the field, covering tight ends, their 27th defensive DVOA against tight ends, right? That leads right into the foundation of the Chiefs offense, that short passing game, crossers over the middle of the field with guys like Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, one of the best tight ends, in the NFL. I think they're going to have their hands full with this Chiefs offense. I think the Chiefs, especially going against the Bengals defense that kind of struggles against the running game, that just gives the Chiefs more balance. And I feel like Chiefs are going to be able to score plenty in this one. I think Chiefs team total is something you can look at. But I did play the over. I am on the over in this game, and I actually have more stake on the over than I do the actual side in this matchup because I do think Joe Burrow is going to be able to have success, and I think Kansas City is going to be able to move the ball. But, Dave, what are your thoughts on Kansas City offense against the Chiefs defense? Are we on the same page as far as we expect a high-scoring game from the Chiefs guys? Chiefs props, Kelsey, overs, all that good stuff probably in play here.
Yeah, I do agree that, if I did lean aside, it is the over. I do see a lot of passing yards. I see Burrow. I mean, what did he throw for 446 the first game? We got a great story here. I mean, the Chiefs are in the 4th straight conference championship game. Andy Reid in his 9th. He's 3-5 to date in those championship games. The Chiefs, I mean, they're looking to go to the 3rd straight Super Bowl. So we're going to be stuck here if we get the Chiefs. The team before them was the Pats. They went to 3 straight. So we're only going to see 2 AFC teams in the Super Bowl over a 6-year span. That's crazy to see that done 2 straight times if it does happen. But I will kind of disagree with you on the one point before I get into offense defense. I do think the Bengals have a chance to win this game. I truly believe that. They won the first game. They got like this, can't lose mentality. They got some luck on their side right now. And like I said, they got McPherson that can hit it from anywhere. You got a lot of recency bias too, watching how great Cincinnati is. They're almost handing them the trophy now. I think there's a chance. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I do think they can actually pull it off, which gives me a little confidence when I get later into my pick. But as far as the defense offense goes, it is the middle of the field. You're 100% right. Kelsey's going to have one of those days. I like him a lot in his overs. I think Mahomes is going to rely on him. I think Mahomes' legs, they were huge in the first quarter last week against the Bills when the Bills tried to play just rush for man-to-man. What do you have, 45 yards on the first 2 drives? I think Mahomes' legs are going to be big too. I think the Chiefs are going to do their end of the bargain, no doubt about it. They're scoring in the mid-20s for sure, if not 30. They haven't been stopped at home lately. They're 9-1 straight up, 8-2 ATS in the last 10 games. They're on a roll, and they're scoring points every single time, averaging 33 in that stretch. So, yeah, they'll do that in their bargain. I agree. The Bengals, good D, but they're in the middle of the pack, like 18th overall in points per game. And a lot of other areas, the run might be their best, the run D, but Chiefs aren't going to run it.
Yeah, and here's the thing. So very interesting points, right? And I think the Mahomes one I think is interesting as far as his rushing because, if you look at when Mahomes runs, it's high leverage situations, usually like third downs or second longs or whatnot, right? He drops back and the defense drops everybody back and has everybody covered. And he's like, I'm just going to use my wheels, right? I don't know if Cincinnati can cover everybody. So I don't know if he's going to have to run in this one, like, to be honest with you. But, we'll see how that goes. But his rushing props have been money. Couple key trends, about just overs in the championship game in general. We'll talk about this a little bit more in the next game as well. Since 1990, championship games overs have hit 61% of the time, 8-2 over the last 5 years. Games lined with a total 50 or above, 10-5-1 in the last 30 years. So, a lot of that stuff leans to the over. Now, again, Kansas City.
Well, the Chiefs are 7-0.
Yeah, 7-0 in their last 7 to the over. Yep. And not only that, but they have, like, everyone's like, oh, well, this is a high number, right? Well, the Chiefs' average total this season is 52. So it's not like they live in the 50s. Like, this is just where they live. This is where their games live. And you brought up an awesome point, Dave. If you look at when they've played top 12 quarterbacks, they average letting up like 28 points a game, like 28, 29 points a game. They're always letting up tons of points against good quarterbacks. And Joe Burrow in this offense fits this mold. Now, another interesting part, we talk about offense, defense with the Chiefs. And I think this is going to give Chiefs fans and Chiefs backers, people that are taking the 7.5, I think this is going to give them hope. Joe Burrow, the last 2 games, we talked about McPherson coming on and getting those field goals. I personally think if we see McPherson go on the field, the Chiefs are dead. If they have to kick a field goal in this game, I think they're cooked because I don't think the defense is going to be able to hold up. The Bengals, yeah. So if the Bengals have to kick field goals in this game, they're cooked against it. Like, they need touchdowns, not field goals. But the key point is, if you look at those 2 defenses that the Chiefs played, that kind of, and this is, I've been betting against the Chiefs the whole way, and this is kind of why, right? Those teams don't blitz. Tennessee blitzes the least amount in the NFL. The Raiders blitzed the least amount in the NFL. Tennessee was, fifth fewest or whatnot. They don't blitz. They drop everyone back. That's not when Burrow's at his best. Burrow at his best against the blitz, right? PFF's number 1 rated quarterback against the blitz, right? Chiefs, top 8 blitz rate, right? Spagnuolo has to blitz. So the key to this game for the Chiefs, I feel like, is their offensive line has to hold up enough to a point to make the Chiefs blitz. And if the Chiefs have to blitz and the front four can't get home and they can't drop everybody back, then I think, it's going to be the same as last game, 34-31, something of that nature. Like, this is going to be a shootout with a ton of points. If they can't, and if KC is able to get home with 4, then I think you're going to see this game get away from Cincinnati pretty quick.
Yeah, I agree with all those points as well. I do think that from, the Chiefs standpoint, I'm not sure they're going to be able to create that pressure up front so that you're going to, and Spags just has to blitz. It's in his
I think
blood.
so, yeah. He's had to all year.
Yeah, and then let's also talk about why he might have to. Tyrann Mathieu, I know he's practicing this week, but he's still not out of the concussion protocol. They had a couple D-backs banged up last week that are questionable coming back this game. And if they're at all dinged up back there, forget about it. He's going to have to create some pressure somewhere because he's not going to have the tools to double chase. He's not going to. And if you double chase, I say go ahead. Go try that strategy because T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd and C.J. Uzomah, they'll eat you up. And Joe Mixon in the passing game, you mentioned it last week, was a very good, I think you mentioned it, a passing yards catching prop. If you didn't, I saw someone else, and he's always live in that area, catching a lot of balls recently. I know Fournette was very similar. They have those weapons outside of Chase. I would welcome you to double them because I think that's a recipe for disaster too. Now I know single's not going to be great either, but you got to just find some ways maybe to show a double, move away. They're going to get creative here because if they blitz Burrow, he's going to dissect them. And if they don't blitz him and they don't get home, Chiefs have a lot of weapons. Bengals have a lot of weapons. I do think the Bengals move the ball well. I'm with you. I think the Bengals score at least 3 touchdowns in this game. I really do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm on the over. I'm on the over in this one, and I'm also I also laid a little bit of Kansas City at 7. So I have Kansas City at 7, and I have the over. I do think that the Chiefs are able to win this game with margin. I think we're going to see probably like a, I think Adam had like 35-20 in the comments. I think it could be something maybe a little bit more closer, but 34-24 or something like that. Definitely. Wouldn't surprise me. But I just think that the Chiefs offense is just too strong. And I think that, the Bengals team, tremendous season, but I just think defensively, it's just such a bad matchup. It's going to cause a lot of pressure. And listen, I know Joe Burrow has played games at the highest level in college and in SEC games, and they talk about how loud it is. He wasn't playing Patrick Mahomes in the SEC championship game. So when you're on the road, you're at loud Arrowhead Stadium, and you have a quarterback on the other side that could probably put up 50 on your defense. It's a little bit of a different vibe. So I do like the Chiefs, but my big play is on the over. That's the one I'm the strongest on. What do you got on this one, Dave, before we wrap up and move over to the NFC?
Yeah, I'm probably a little opposite, not in the wrong way. I'm on the over. That's my lighter play. I like the Bengals 7.5. Definitely, you can actually get 8.5, 120, 125 on DraftKings right now. I like anything over 7. 7's going to be a wait and see for me. Maybe even tease down the Chiefs. But with that said, I only bet dogs when I definitely think they have a chance. And I think the Bengals have a chance. The Chiefs are 27th in passing yards allowed, 24th in yards per passing play. The Bengals are the number 1 pass team from a completion percentage. Joe Burrow led the league. I think he had set over 70%, better than Patrick Mahomes. They both shot for about 288, 285 a game. So they're even in that sense. And if you look at their touchdown interception ratio, they're right on the mark. It's that completion percentage and the ability to light up that Chiefs bad. When I say bad, I stress that word, bad pass defense. The Chargers were throwing against them all day. That's another correct. The only one they led under 20 was Dak Prescott, which, we know Dak sometimes. We saw him against San Fran in the playoffs. They held Green Bay to 13, but that was with Jordan Rodgers. Everything else versus very quality teams is high 20s and 30s. Bengals will put up those points. And if they're going to put up those points, I think they stay within the number. I think they scare Kansas City. But in the end, the coaching's the difference. Don't forget, Reed knows how to lose these games. But I think he's got a different guy at the helm than what he did when he was in Philly. And I think that guy will pull out another miracle. I think it's a great game to watch. Can't wait. And I think Mahomes pulls it out late for Kansas City. But the Bengals show they're here. They're a force. They got to just fix that offensive line. I'll take them covering 7.5.
Sounds good, man. Sounds good. So, both on the over. So we agree there. I got Kansas City at 7. Obviously, I would not bet them at 7.5 or 8.5 or wherever it's going to get steamed to probably now until kickoff. But, I do like them in this matchup. I think they'll advance. You probably feel a little bit stronger about the Bengals than I do. But, hey, I've been betting against them all the whole way and been losing each time. So we'll see if the Bengals can prove me wrong again. Yep, there you go.
So,
but let's get over to the NFC now. Break this one down. 49ers, Rams, right? Everybody knows the storylines. McVay, Shanahan played twice this year, got swept, just like the previous 2 years before that, got swept by the 49ers. Trent Williams, still questionable, right? A lot of people are eyeing that up. Huge, obviously, for the 49ers and their offensive line. Kyle Shanahan yesterday said that he has been very adamant that he's going to play in this game. But, they're just kind of taking it as it goes. Probably going to be a game time decision for Trent Williams and the 49ers. They didn't have him in that Week 18 game that they won against the Rams in L.A., just a few weeks ago. This one opened, I want to say it opened. Did it open at 3? And it opened at 4, got bet down to 3.5. Yep. That's kind of where it's at now. Total opened at 47 and get pushed down. We're seeing 45.5, 46 at some spots. 49ers, Rams, doesn't get any better than this. 2 NFC West rivals. I'm incredibly excited about this. I have a 49ers Super Bowl ticket from the beginning of the year. So I think it's pretty easy to tell, what side I'm going to be on this one. And it's not just because of the futures, but San Fran is a team that I've been riding, the whole way, just like you've been riding the Bengals. So, let's break this one down, Dave. What are some of the key things that you're looking for in this one from a betting perspective?
Yeah, I'll open up my stance. On my other podcast, 4th and Go, I picked the Bills, Rams, and the Rams to win the Super Bowl beginning season. I have Rams tickets all over. So maybe I have a side, and we'll get to that. But, yeah, we're close. There was just something about the way McVay could run that offense with a guy like Stafford. And it has shown to be game-changing in a sense, right? The year they lost the Super Bowl, they scored like 3 points against the Patriots. It was terrible. So he knew, and it's definitely a big factor. But then when you look at the Rams and you look at this game and you understand the matchups, this is a tough draw for the Rams. It's the worst draw. Now you could say it's tough to beat a team 3 times, but not when you consistently beat them over and over again. You have this polarizing opposing style that is just hard for the Rams to adjust to. And what's big for me in this game is simply this. I'll give you 2 things. First off, the Rams coming out of that last game and looking up in the crowd and saying, wow, a lot of red in the crowd. And that really affected us. If that was on your mind, that's a problem because the red's not going to stop coming. You can try and hold them out. Money talks, baby. And I'm telling you, people sell those tickets. The Niners will be loud and proud in LA this week. So if that was on your mind, that worries me a little bit. Secondly, Jimmy G, right? We've talked about how atrocious he is. I mean, let's just not even cut the words. He was just awful last week. But he's not awful against the Rams, right? You need a half of Jimmy G to show up. He threw for 182. He was only 15-19 in the first game, 182, 2 touchdowns, but his passer rating was 141. And then the other game, he came back from 17 points down, right? Led a huge comeback in the second half, threw for 316. So this guy, I don't want to say all rests on his shoulders, but we know the Niners will get to Stafford with their front 4 and not blitz a lot. Bosa's going to get in there. They're going to make some noise. We know the Niners are going to run the ball. What we don't know is Jimmy G, right? We just don't know Jimmy G. And that's where I'm he's the key. He's the key to this game, in my opinion. He just needs to be efficient. He doesn't need to win it. He needs to be efficient.
Yeah, 100%. And like I said, you talked about that, Week 18 game. 449 yards passing, 316 in the second half, 24 points in the second half. Like, he's literally done whatever he wants against this Rams defense all year. And it's really, they need him to play a clean game, but I think not as much as they needed last year, because we've seen Stafford and this Rams offense just continue to make a ton of mistakes week in and week out. But, from an X's and O's perspective, like, I think people need to keep in mind and realize that, Sean McVay runs Kyle Shanahan's offense. Kyle Shanahan built that offense. It's just McVay runs it out of 11 personnel where Shanahan uses the fullback, right? That's really the difference. He took Shanahan's offense, copied it, and ran it out of 11 personnel. That's why when they lost Robert Woods, Ben Solak had a tremendous article on this over at The Ringer this week, where he really breaks it down. But that's why when they lost Robert Woods, it was so huge, because Robert Woods was such a good blocking wide receiver. It kind of helps that offense. But, ultimately, when you look at these two teams and the difference, I think, in this game from a coaching perspective is that Shanahan's able to make these adjustments on the fly because he built this offense. He learned it from his father. He created it. Where you see kind of McVay, when they get in trouble, he's not able to make those adjustments. You brought up the Super Bowl, Belichick puts 6 defensive linemen up front, right? And to kind of like take away, the zone running. And McVay had no answers. Like, people point to Goff, but really it was McVay that got schooled in that matchup. And he's just not able. And we've seen it this year where, like, when that offense goes bad, it goes bad for several games. There's nobody who knows how to stop that offense better than Kyle Shanahan, because he built it. So I think it's going to be a huge game. I think the San Francisco defense is going to be able to have a ton of success here in this matchup. When you look at the other side of the ball, what San Francisco does well on offense, the wide zone running scheme, it's had a ton of success, because what does it do? It gets Aaron Donald running horizontally instead of rushing the quarterback, right? So we want to keep Aaron Donald moving horizontally. When you look at Donald, against the 49ers, 63 PFF grade in those 2 games compared to 92 the rest of the season. So he does not do well against this 49ers team. They know how to limit him. They know how to shut him down. From a matchup perspective, having a guy like Jalen Ramsey really doesn't help the Rams in this matchup, because what are you going to do? You're going to put him on Kittle and have him be a linebacker, or you're going to put him on Debo? Like, we'll put Debo in San Fran will put Debo in the backfield and make Ramsey play at the line of scrimmage. Like, the Rams don't want to do that. So I think those are some of the nuances that you see why the 49ers have so much success against this Rams defense. So, I mean, I like the 49ers here. I have them on the money line. I have them at the 3.5. I think total perspective, I think this one's an over, but I think the 49ers just continue to have a ton of success against this team. I think styles make fights. And I think that, in a loud stadium, that is going to be a home field advantage for the 49ers. They already said that, I think it's 65% of the tickets have been sold to Northern California residents. So that just screams 49ers. I think they're going to come out in droves. They could not even, Stafford had to go on a silent count in his home stadium the last time they played. So, I think the 49ers win here. I think they win outright. Again, I did play the money line, but I just think that there are stylistic matchups with the X's and O's to where a lot of the things that San Francisco does strong mitigates what the Rams do well. And I think that that's really the key in this one.
Yeah. And I'm with you on all those factors and for everything you said. This is what I feel too. I think the Niners are just that team for the Rams. And it's that team. Like, if you looked at last week, and Aaron Rodgers just doesn't beat the Niners in the playoffs. And now they don't play as regular as these teams, but now he's 0-4. And whether that's a mental state or that's just, good matchups, we can get into that another time. But this is truly both. I really believe the Niners are the Rams' mental block. They're in their heads. And I believe it's a horrible matchup. Now, in the end, I'm going to bail on this one. And I'll tell you why. With my Rams tickets, I feel like if I already said earlier, Niners, if you like them live, money line's great. I'm going to take the Niners 3.5. And that way, if I can get a little piece of that action and maybe get a late Rams win and still get the cover, even though I truly do believe the Niners will win this game, I'm going to play the Niners 3.5 just to kind of back and protect myself, maybe even double up here But I do like the Niners. Don't get me wrong. Like the Niners, love the
Yeah.
3.5, and I wouldn't even be scared of putting money line. I encourage anyone who likes the Niners to do that. I'm just going to stick with my 3.5. I think Kittle has a big game too. I think Debo, he was a little banged up last game. I think he'll be fine. But I think Kittle's big in this game too. I do think Jimmy makes the right pass. Like he did have some last week against the Packers that were just dropped. He's still making better plays than his stats showed. And I think now in a warmer weather, better environment, they got out of it. I can't believe they got out of there with a win. And now it's just rolling downhill. They're rolling downhill, and I like them. I like them a lot.
Yeah, it's an excellent point. Like you talked about, like the injuries and those guys being banged up. There's no better situation than playing indoors. Like if you're banged up, like from a performance perspective, you're going to perform optimally indoors as opposed to 60,000 below in Lambeau Field in the middle of the night, right? So I think that kind of stuff helps them. But like I said, I think the fans are going to be there. They're going to be loud. But I just think this is a situation of where we've seen time and time again when things go bad, like McVay just has a hard time adjusting. And I just think that when you look at the success that the Niners have had against this team, and it doesn't matter who the defensive coordinator is, like Wade Phillips, San Francisco swept them. Brendan Staley, the guy in LA with the Chargers, no shot against San Francisco, got swept. This year, Raheem Morris gets swept. You know what I mean? So it doesn't matter, like, who the Rams have at defensive coordinator. They're not coming up with a game plan to stop this San Francisco offense. San Francisco is going to score points. They scored 31 and 27 the two times they played them this year. That's why I lean to the over. If I'm playing the total, I like the over in this one. I know they're betting it down, but I think we're going to see points here. Now, listen, it's not going to be 31-0 San Francisco. The Rams are a very good team. It's going to be a very close, competitive game. But when it gets down to that fourth quarter, one team knows that they're better than the other team. And I think it's fascinating. PFF during their podcast, they had an excellent point, and it talked about the variance with the 49ers and how, they can look so good at sometimes and so bad sometimes. And it's because they're a tough matchup because they built their team differently than every other team. So while every other defense is out there building their defense, you can look at the Bills, you look at the Rams, they all build their defense to stop the high-powered offenses like Patrick Mahomes. They all want to stop the Maserati, right? Like they all want to stop and they're not built to handle a team like the 49ers. So when the 49ers get in and they get on a run and they're playing well and they're healthy and their defense is playing well, they're a horrible matchup for people because they didn't build their defense from a roster perspective to handle the running game that Shanahan brings and, the play action that he runs off of it. But I agree with you. Like Garoppolo can't melt down here, but I just think he needs to play within himself. He'll be fine. And that's and now let's before we bring Lexi on and kind of talk about this one, Dave, what is your opinion overall on Garoppolo? Because, I believe that he's better than he gets credit for. Like, I think that he's obviously not elite, but I think he's in the upper end of that middle of the pack tier. Like, I definitely think he's probably in that 10 to 14 range if you're looking at quarterbacks. Like, is he that much? I don't know. Is he that much worse than Dak?
Yes. Yeah. I probably have him closer. Yeah, I probably have him closer to 20. I think he is somewhat of a system quarterback. Now, I think you can win with him. So that's the interesting part. Like, some guys near 20 you just can't win with. I think you can win with Jimmy Garoppolo. So it's a hard balance there. I do not think very highly. I don't think he can make a lot of the throws that are important to win games. I still go back to the Super Bowl.
He missed that.
Missing guys wide open just wide open down the field to win that game. And they're up, and they should close that thing out. So I still have a little Jimmy remorse in me. I'm just not sold he's that guy, right? But he's that guy on this team, and Shanahan is amazing. Like, he made Kirk Cousins amazing, right? There's some things that he's done with quarterbacks, and he knows as long as you can play his game. So I got Jimmy more towards the 18 to 20, which isn't probably super far off from you. I don't think when people say he's the worst, he's not down sitting Danny Jones.
I think he might be top 12, dude. I think we're pretty we're not. I don't think we're super far away, but I think he's pretty I think he's above average. Like I definitely, I
Well,
mean,
all right, Derek
16 would be
Carr.
the median, but
Derek Carr.
yeah, I think I might take Jimmy.
I got Carr.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I might take Jimmy there. Like here's the thing. This
Kyler
is what you
Murray.
have to. Oh, I take Jimmy. Yeah, I take Jimmy over Murray. But
Mm.
here's the thing you have to keep in mind too is like the system is great, right? But this system is built for Jimmy to live in the middle of the field, which is a very difficult place to live. Because, as we know, if you're a bad quarterback and you're throwing over the middle of the field, you throw it high, it's an interception. You throw it behind him, it's an interception. Like, there's a reason why teams don't live in that space in their passing game. And I think that like Garoppolo is kind of like the system is great for him, but it also forces him to be aggressive and make some dangerous throws. To where if you look at like a Baker Mayfield, like Stefanski never lets him do that. You know what I mean? Like or Carson Wentz, like Reich never lets him do that. You know what I mean? So it's interesting, but there's always that, to your point, and what I think scares everybody about betting the 49ers in big games like this, there's always that one throw he makes
There's
every
moments.
single game that you're just like, what are you doing, Jimmy? Like,
Well,
what do you?
he had it against Green Bay. They're driving near the end zone, and he throws a
I think he
horrible
had three
ball.
of them. Yeah, I think he had three of them. Like,
the pick right near the end zone. It was.
Yeah.
Hey, let me just close with this because it is pretty neat, and I mean this might show my age a little, might show yours, but you think about the potential of the Niners winning. You're either going to get Niners Bengals or Niners Chiefs. So you could get Niners Chiefs, which was the rematch of the Super Bowl a couple years ago, which was great, right? And the teams would be far off. Niners Bengals, 1988. I remember that one of the best games ever. John Taylor in the back of the end zone. Yeah, and I mean the Bengals haven't been there since. So I almost feel like, and I know it's just worlds colliding. If you see a Bengals outright, I think I'm pounding the Niners outright. We're just going to see some symmetry. The Bengals this is the Bengals' return. The Bengals Niners would be just something so cool. We'd see for 2 weeks Montana, Ickey Woods, Esiason. It'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. And if it's Niners Chiefs, it could be the Jimmy G revenge match because
it could.
he was one throw away from being MVP in that game. I'm still a little sore because I had the Niners in that one and ended up losing my ticket. But going to be a lot of fun. Can't wait to bring Lexi on. She's going to tell us that the Rams are going to win, I'm sure. After we sat here explaining why the Niners are the play. But let's bring her on right now. Lexi,
hello.
How you doing?
I'm good. Actually, the phone ringing behind me, but no, actually, I'm on the Niners with you guys.
Nice.
Yes.
I have been on the Niners like the whole postseason, especially because I write a feature piece with a couple of my buddies that I work with, and they all told me Green Bay is gonna win. The Niners can't beat Green Bay, and I'm like, I'm riding the lone wolf, and of course, like I came out winning, so I was like, I gotta go with them at this point, and. It's don't get me wrong, being a Lions fan, it's bittersweet, to see Stafford there, obviously, like only after 1 year, but like I'm happy for him. He balled out last weekend. But what I think is funny about this game is that it comes down to both quarterbacks taking care of the ball and being like efficient with it, because you get Jimmy G, who you guys were saying, you question like, what kind of throw is that? Well, guess what? I still do that to Matt Stafford all these years later. Like even this season, I'm like, what were you thinking there? Like, what are you doing? And so they have similar qualities where like sometimes you're just like, I didn't get that, So it's going to be a really good game.
And it's a pool. Stafford has 4 interceptions against the Niners this year. You bring up a good point. Like,
yeah,
I think
it depends on the Stafford you're going to get. Like last week, there's nobody beating that Stafford running down in that amount of time and clocking it. Like, oh God, it was really cool to see that. It really was, but I think he's going to get the pressure from the Niners defense that is going to cause him to throw more picks this game. And I think it's going to turn into pick city probably. And that's, they're going to capitalize on those turnovers.
Yeah, that's awesome. And listen, I love Stafford. I love Burrow. Like, that's the hardest part about, like, me continuing to bet against the Bengals is because I think Joe Burrow is awesome. And I think Matt Stafford's awesome. I love him. I just think that they're going to be on the wrong end today. But, we'll see, man. Like I said, they've been proving me wrong, this far, this much. You know what I mean? So it's going to be interesting. But it's good to see, not that Detroit doesn't have a great future ahead of them, but it's good to see Matt Stafford after all those years finally get the opportunity to play in these games. Because whenever we talked about him as a top quarterback in the league, and his career, has it been a success or not, and that sort of thing, everybody always points to the playoffs. He hasn't won playoff games, he hasn't done that. So to see him kind of shed that narrative against Tom Brady of all teams in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers was very awesome. But hopefully, for my bank account's sake, it ends this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, like, I didn't bet on it, so I'm just like, okay, well, if Stafford does win, good for him. He'll go to the Super Bowl. Yeah. I don't think that. I think the Chiefs are going to win. I want to ride the Bengals. I love Joe Burrow. I love Jamar Chase. I love that connection. It's going to be something exciting for the future. I just don't think it's their time yet. Now, if I'm wrong with that and we get a Rams Bengals Super Bowl, or even Niners Bengals, that would be pretty cool. It'd be really good.
I think any matchup we get is going to be a really good Super Bowl. I mean, the most you could probably see a spread here, 6, 5. Maybe the Chiefs get there with the Niners to 5. I don't know. Drums, what do you think?
What if it's Chiefs Niners?
I think that would be the biggest spread you could have. Maybe Rams Bengals would be. I don't know, but Chiefs.
Yeah.
Just say Chiefs Niners 5.
I don't know. It'll be. I think some of it's going to depend on how they play today. You know what I mean? I think it's. I think the Niners would take a lot of action at 5. I think if it was anything above 4, I think the Niners would get bet there. But I don't know. Like, here's the thing, dude. Like, if the Niners win in overtime and KC wins 45-7, right? Like, it's going to be tough to keep that spread low, right? So I think it'll be interesting. But KC will definitely be favored over whoever they play. If they get in this matchup, and the Bengals are probably going to be underdogs regardless. Like, I think even if it's Niners Bengals, I think that
Bengals winning on the road, like winning in KC, I don't think their spreads get as wide as I think they could have potentially. Like, if they sit here and win that game at Kansas City, I think you're going to get a lot of Bengals love, and they'd be too scared to open it much more. Like versus the Rams, I think it's 3.5, 4. Niners, very similar.
Yeah. It's a very good point. But so you got the Chiefs and the Niners, right?
And I'm the only one picking the Niners again, too. So let's see if it's going to be.
Yeah. I kind of like it. I mean, I would like to see that rematch. Like I said, I lost a ton of money that year when they blew that Super Bowl lead.
I had the
Niners. So I would like to get some of that money back. I'd like to get a shot. I'd like that rematch. And
I agree with you, too, though, that I feel like Jimmy G is like, he does not get the credit he deserves because he does make such silly mistakes sometimes, and you can't really we're wondering why he made that throw, but it's like he wins with them. I mean, him and the Niners in the postseason is like, so let's just hope it doesn't end like it always does, and he does make.
Yeah, that's the thing is it's a lot like we talk about, Stafford and him trying to change the narrative on his story. Jimmy G, has an opportunity here in the NFC Championship. And, if they win in the Super Bowl, if he goes out there and beats Patrick Mahomes, that's the interesting part. And, we're kind of running late, so I don't want to get too much into this because we still have, the Super Bowl to talk about. But if it is Niners and KC and the Niners end up beating Kansas City, right, the narrative comes less about Jimmy G and more about Andy Reid. And his inability to win Super Bowls with Patrick Mahomes, like that's going to be, he got the one against the Niners where Jimmy G missed the wide open pass and opened up the comeback. But it could turn into I think if the Chiefs don't win it this year, it could turn into how come Andy Reid's not winning all these Super Bowls with Patrick Mahomes? As we saw with the career with Aaron Rodgers, one is not enough. But again, 4 straight AFC championships for Mahomes. Is a starter. It's just incredible. Chiefs obviously very, very strong and odds-on favorites to win the Super Bowl again this year for a good reason. But before we get out of here, Lexi, tell everybody where they can get your content. I know you're talking about some of the feature articles that you've been doing. Let the people know before we get out of here.
Yeah, content create for Multiplicity Media Group. You can follow them at Multiplicity MG on Twitter. We also have a website where we finally can display all of our written content and articles and features and stuff like that. So just been doing a lot for the NFL postseason. I can't wait for the future, more college basketball and then college football come in the fall. So it's exciting.
Awesome. Good stuff. Dave, parting thoughts for the people.
Yeah, Pro Football Focus says Jimmy G is 19th overall. All right, I'm close. But no, my closing. Yeah, my close, and I'm trying to follow multiplicity too right now. All right. Anyway, listen, I think it's going to be two great games. I really, we had an awesome weekend of football last week, the best weekend of football we could have had. Don't put your heads down. I think we're getting two great games again this weekend. Can't wait to watch it, and we're going to have a great Super Bowl. So, been a fun ride. Let's get two winners this week.
Yes.
100%. Everybody, thank you for tuning in. Listen, make sure you download the Sharp app, hop in the Discord community. The links are below. You can get a link with the free 30 days as well. The M Drum free, you can get it. You can hop in, get the Sharp Bets picks. Our professional handicappers are hammering all the different markets every single night. So make sure you use those links in the description below. But everybody, good luck on all your bets. We're going to come back with big smiles as we get ready for the Super Bowl after these tickets cash this weekend. So we'll see you guys before the Super Bowl, and let's cash some tickets.
Yeah, see you guys.
Let's go.